Was reading a copy of Everyday Sexism in Bed with my boyfriend, who was playing video games. Read him some of the statistics at the beginning of chapter 2, Women in Politics, and his response, maybe women aren't interested in politics. And this is from a man who told me he identifies as a feminist.
When I was around 12, I was walking home from high school. It was an all-girls school. Two boys from the parallel boys' high school tried to get my attention by shouting the school name as if it was mine, since I was wearing the uniform. I ignored them, but I was scared they would cross the street and do something. When I got home and brought it up to my parents, they seemed to be overjoyed I was finally hitting that age of getting male attention. I was 12.
I've only recently noticed this, but when I have a family meal with my parents and brothers, my dad always sits at the head of the table. Things like this make me question the traditions of generations before me had and how misogynistic society was. When I have children, I don't want any gender roles to be obvious, but for them to learn that men and women are equal. I think that this is really important.
I teach private music lessons. My student's dad just tried to come on to me saying, "Don't be mad, I'd really like to kiss you." He broke my trust, and I was scared. And now he's begging me not to drop his daughter from my studio, saying his daughter doesn't have to pay for his mistakes. He was being a creep. What did he expect was going to happen? That I would say, "Oh sure," and kiss him, start an affair, and have to face his daughter and his wife every week? Or just forgive an inappropriate and unprofessional advance and let it slide by without doing anything? I think I'm projecting my self-judgment into others, and that I've probably internalized myself. I don't like the solution. Never be alone in a room with a man. Never. We inform and reflect our own projections and judgments about what women should and shouldn't do to avoid being sexually harassed. I said, I feel unsafe and uncomfortable. Why didn't I just say, I'm flattered but no thank you? Because that sucks. I shouldn't have to nice my way out of those shitty situations. Why can't women just exist? I don't want to feel scared doing my job to the point where I can't be alone in a room with another man. Why am I blaming myself and taking responsibility for someone else's problems?
When I was 14, an older boy grabbed me bum in front of others, me boys, and they all laughed and jeered. When I was 16, men in white vans used to whistle and shout things out their work vans when I would be walking home from school wearing my school uniform. When I was 19, a guy sexually assaulted me in a nightclub and put his hand up my skirt. I turned around, shouted, and swore in his face to leave me alone, and what he did was assault. When I was 26, a former boss grabbed me inappropriately from behind at a work's Christmas night out. All this behavior is unacceptable, and because I call men out for their sexist behavior, I get called a crazy feminist because I fight against it. I believe in equality, and I will continue to fight for equality till the end.
They're like real stories of real people. So that's
Really? Oh.
And you can go to the everydaysexismproject.com to read the other hundreds and thousands of submissions. So what is feminism? So feminism is the advocacy of women's rights and the equality of the sexes. Now feminism isn't saying, oh, they just want to take over a man's power. No, men are up here in society, right? They've always have. Well, women have always been of course, lower. We were considered a minority for the longest time, even though in the world it's about 50-50. So if men are up here and women are down here, we just want this. We want equality of the sexes. In the book that I was reading, it's called The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan. This dates back to the Victorian era, whereas women were subordinate to men and were seen as the housewife, whereas the men were in the workforce or in the army, etc. One of the quotes in this book was, "Save femininity, save the home." So basically it was kind of like the opposite, like the parallel of what we see feminism as today, whereas women should have the opportunity, the same amount of opportunity as men. So in the book, in this time period, we see how more women are questioning themselves. Is this how I'm supposed to live? Is this my role in life? I am now finding the reasons to live as fully as possible. This was during the second wave of feminism, whereas women already have the right to vote, which was the first main case why feminism was a thing. It was because women didn't even have the right to vote until the 1960s, and for hundreds of years, it was all up to the men. It was all up to men being in politics. And you may say that we're on the third wave of feminism because we still haven't reached equal pay. It's still controversial to talk about this topic, which it shouldn't even be in the first place, because it's about rights. It's about human rights. In domestic violence, on a typical day, there are more than 20,000 phone calls placed to domestic violence hotlines nationwide. 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men in the United States have been raped in their lifetime. 91% of the victims of rape and sexual assault are female, and 9% are male. The subcategory of abortion underneath feminism is probably the most controversial because of everyone's different beliefs, backgrounds, and religions that affect one's belief. Being a feminist doesn't have to sway one way or the other, like pro-life or pro-choice. It's really up to the women, and as long as women have their rights to choose, they can choose to keep their baby, they can choose to abort it. It's their choice, and they should have the right to choose if they want to keep it or not. The rights for women to have abortions all date back to Roe v. Wade, which is a Supreme Court case back in 1973. So the 14th Amendment is equal opportunity. This Supreme Court case is a subclause in this amendment, as well as the 4th Amendment, which is the right to privacy. So when an equally qualified man and woman do the same exact job, the woman earns 97.8 cents for every dollar earned by a man. And if you compare all working men to all working women, women earn 77.9 cents for every dollar earned by a man. So now in politics, 325 women has served in the US Congress to date. So from the beginning to now, only 325. Okay, well, 10,947 people have served in the Congress. This isn't including the incumbents who've been serving for numerous consecutive terms. There have been numerous women who have tried to even get their name in the Congress to start building their way up to reach to presidency. So yes, maybe we did reach complete equality of the sexes in America. If that means it's equal for women to get paid less, if that means it's equal for women to be seen as still the homemaker of a family today, if that means women shouldn't have a choice if they should abort their child or not, if that means women can't provide for themselves or think of themselves as a higher being where they should have the right to believe that they can achieve just as much opportunity as a man has today in society. Maybe we have achieved equality if that means never having a woman president in our country today.